Greetings and welcome to Athletic Director U. I am Bryan Fischer here in Las Vegas at the 2022 National Football Foundation and SBJ Intercollegiate Athletics Forum. Joined now by Mitch Barnhart, the Director of Athletics at Kentucky. Mitch, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for letting me come.
Absolutely. Well, you're being honored. You got the John L. Toner Award. I would imagine that just a fun weekend for you.
Yeah, you know, I was in Dallas at some meetings in Dallas and had an opportunity to meet a lot of my staff and some family members out here, and it's always a wonderful weekend to see people and to have relationships and friendships renewed. But I'm especially grateful for the National Football Foundation and having an opportunity to receive an award that has got a lot of history to it and a lot of really wonderful names attached to it.
Well, I want to take us kind of back to the beginning. I mean, sure. You had some great mentors. You know, I think everybody talks about mentorship and making sure that you have those connections with people. You worked with Bill Byrne and Doug Dickey. I mean, those had to be some great learning experiences early in your career that helped shape you even today. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that Bill Byrne was one of the more creative minds in college athletics, especially at a time when marketing and fundraising and external relations were growing into something uniquely different than they are in today's world. They were back then. It was, and I say that back then, it was 30, 40 years ago, you know. But Bill was an innovator, and he really did some things, and he opened my eyes as to how you created relationships and you brought people into the world of fundraising and marketing and those things. He was so brilliantly smart. And then to have an opportunity to work with Doug Dickey at Tennessee for 12 years, and Doug had the ability to mesh the athletic competitive world with what it meant to run an organization well. And I'm thankful to be able to receive the John Toner Award tonight. After John Toner won the initial award, Doug Dickey was the second one. And so my first call after the foundation called me was to call Coach Dickey and say, man, I don't even know if there's words that can describe the honor I feel to have be able to follow in the guy's footsteps that I so dearly love. I love Doug Dickey. He's been a mentor to a lot of people. Tough man. He taught you what it meant to be tough in an enterprise. You have to be tough. And so there was different things that he taught me, and just so appreciative of those two relationships. I've got many, many more, but the start with Bill and to finish with Doug in terms of that before I began my time as an athletic director, super appreciative.
I mean, you spent the 12 years there in Knoxville, and your first gig at Oregon State, that can be a culture shock for a lot of folks. I mean, how did you kind of approach that initial athletic directorship?
Yeah, you know, I think I tried to blend a little bit about what Bill had given me and trying to be innovative and just say, hey, we're going to do things that have never been done before. We're going to throw the bucket at it and have some fun. I always tell people all the time, and I saw an Oregon State staffer this morning walking in the hallways, and he came up and introduced himself, and he said, we crossed paths briefly, and I said, yeah. And I said, you know, I always reflect back. I've been an AD 26 years now, and those 5 years, I can arguably say I've enjoyed wonderful successes with a lot of people. Those 5 years, probably as much fun as I had in terms of just a group of people coming together to try and change a landscape, and we had a lot of fun together. Wonderful friends in Oregon to this day, and love going back to see Corvallis. So proud of what they've accomplished, and the head coach there, Jonathan Smith, played quarterback for me when we went to the Fiesta Bowl, and a dear friend to this day. He and his wife Candace and their wonderful children. So proud of what they've done and what they've accomplished, and it's wonderful to look back and see their successes.
I mean, one of your first big moves there was hiring Dennis Erickson there at Oregon State. You go to your first bowl game in nearly 3 decades for the Beavers. I mean, what was that time like, and what ultimately led you to Coach Erickson, and what did you think that you knew said, hey, you know what, he's going to have some success here?
Well, true story. If NFL had replay, Dennis would not have been available. The Seattle Seahawks get knocked out of a playoff opportunity with the game, I think, with the New York Jets. And there is a moment where I think Vinny Testaverde, they say, didn't score a touchdown or scored a touchdown, and on instant replay it shows he didn't make it, I think. But back then they didn't have instant replay, you didn't have challenges, so there was no opportunity for Dennis to challenge. Ultimately, he gets released by the Seahawks the next day. Well, now he's available for college football, and he's a Northwest guy, and he called and he said, "Hey, you interested? I want to coach." And we were definitely interested because there's not a guy that really was great at offense, and we needed to score some points and put people in stands, and Dennis came at the right time for Oregon State and did an amazing job. To see people that had not had enjoyed anything of success in football for multiple decades. Grown men and women crying in the stands, knowing that they were going to experience postseason football. Really? And then the next year to go to the Fiesta Bowl I remember talking to the Fiesta Bowl people, and they said, "Will your fans travel?" I said, "The whole state will come." And I think we sold 40,000 tickets or something. It was an amazing, amazing journey for those folks, and to go down there and play Notre Dame and have the opportunity to win that game. So special, really, really special time. And I look at what Bob DeCarolis, as I moved on and went to Kentucky, where we've found our home. We're lifers in the state of Kentucky. We love the bluegrass and the people, but to see what Bob did as he left, and now Scott Barnes and his leadership at Oregon State, it's wonderful, because I look back at the president that I worked for, in Dr. Fischer, and an amazing, and going back to being a tough guy, he was a tough guy, and he wanted athletics to create a front porch for a university that brought, and all of a sudden enrollment changed, all of a sudden the landscape changed, all of a sudden fundraising changed. And some really, really important people, the Reeser family, and those folks really poured into an institution and made it really special.
When you got the chance to come back to the SEC, to go to Kentucky, it wasn't the easiest of situations. You walk in, the football team is on probation.
Yes.
When you come into that athletic department, we talk so much about culture and establishing it. What did you have to do those first couple of years when you arrived in Lexington?
Yeah, I think we talk, the word culture gets thrown around a little bit, and I don't know I think there's ways to describe that and define it. I think what our people needed to know is you loved them. I mean, I wanted people to know that we cared for them, whether it was the athletes we cared for, the staff that had been hurt, our fans that felt embarrassed. I wanted our people to know that we cared, and as you're there longer, I think sometimes people say, they don't care. I want to go back in the Wayback Machine and say, you know what, I want you to know how much we care. We want you to feel a pride and a care for this program that you want, and we're going to do our best to try and put that in play. And I could see the hurt, whether it was the administration of the university. Dr. Todd was an amazing president, really, really good guy to work for, as is Dr. Capilouto, who I work for now. I've been blessed by only having to work for 3 presidents in my entire time, which is unusual in the chair of athletics for 26 years to only have 3 presidents. But I think people have to know you care, and they need to know that you hear what they're saying. That doesn't mean every scheduling thing that you do is perfect. That doesn't mean every coaching decision you make is perfect, or every decision you make policy-wise everyone's going to agree with. What it does mean is that you care for the institution and the people in it at a level that will allow them to love it appropriately. And so that's what we tried to do.
What's so interesting too is that you can walk around here in Las Vegas. You can run into a lot of your former colleagues that have worked with you, even in your own SEC meetings. You certainly hired John Cohen as the baseball coach. When you want to have your subordinates and the people that report to you, how do you make sure that you kind of foster that great culture with them and make sure that they're getting the mentorship that you need to provide them?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think one, you have to know what their goals are. For a lot of people, their goal is to come to a place like Kentucky and stay, and they're good. They love the place. It's a family place. We try and create a family environment. I want kids running around. I want families to be a part of what we do. This isn't a hands-off deal. We need to celebrate our successes together and enjoy that. But you got to know what's important to them. Now, where are they trying to aspire to? Do they want to become an AD? Do they want to be a deputy associate athletic director? Do they want to be an SWA? What do they want to aspire to do? You got to know what they want to do. And then you equip people to launch people into those opportunities. And that's the phrase that we've used an awful lot, equip to launch. And so if it means I launch you into another platform where now you're out there competing against us, perfect. That's good for college athletics, because that means there's somebody that's taking what we have done and they've gone and put it someplace else, and hopefully that fosters a really good thing. If we've done it well, then hopefully it fosters a good thing across the board. I don't want people to stay because they feel like they're obligated to, or because they have to, or because we haven't prepared them well. If we've done our job the right way and we give enough people enough room to make mistakes, and then they should be able to go out and do incredibly well. And I'm thankful for the guys that have gone on and the people that we've grown up in this thing. And they're a pain in the neck to compete against, but it's an honor to compete against them. But it makes it fun. I mean, that's what this thing's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about an opportunity to compete at a high level. I always come back to two words, and it gets lost in the environment we're in today, but two words, critically important in everything we do. One is education, two is competition. We're supposed to educate and we're supposed to compete in every facet of what we do. All the other language we're talking about nowadays gets lost. If we can focus on those two things, then we'll create young people, we'll create staff, we'll create coaches, we'll create opportunities for our university to do those two things effectively well and create a generation that is successful in what they do.
So much about that education is also the student athletes. That picture has been changing quite a bit recently, especially when it comes to NIL. Obviously, you guys are well versed in that. Do you kind of have to almost catch your breath at times, knowing that the speed of change in this department alone has been so rapid the last couple of years?
Well, we've been in it 18 months, so it hasn't even been 2 years yet. So July 1 of 21, we start in this new landscape, and it has changed a lot. And so, there's people that have moved at light speed, and there's people that have moved slower than that. We're probably trending toward. We've moved steady. I would call it steady. And we want to make sure that we're managing it right on all fronts. What's best for the student athlete, what's best for the institution, what's best for the opportunity for intercollegiate athletics. So those are things important, and I think it's going to change a lot more. I think it's going to continue to manifest itself into some places I'm not sure any of us understand or where it's going to go, and we'll just be steady in that. I've got an incredible staff, Mark Hill, Rachel Baker. Some folks that have really helped me walk through this. I've got coaches that ask really good questions and thoughtful questions, and they say, here's where we think we need to be. We don't need to be here, but we need to be here. And okay, well, let's find a way to get to that spot. And I think each state's different. We need some help, frankly. We need some help from a national perspective to sort of get ourselves into a better spot as an enterprise of college athletics. And that's not easy right now in the environment we're in, both politically and from a national perspective, and the transformation and all the things we hear so much about. I hope at the end of the day that we come back to those two words, that we come back to how do we continue to educate and how do we continue to compete, and we make it look like something that is uniquely special to college, and most important, at the end of the day, that we don't lose opportunity for kids to do those things. I look at the people that have left our program and the things that they have done and the things that they've accomplished. And now I'm old enough and I've been at Kentucky long enough where generationally, I'm seeing young people's children come to our program that when first played for me, when we first came to Kentucky, their children are now committing to come to play at Kentucky. That's generational for me. And that's what I want to. I want to continue to foster an opportunity for kids to play, for young people to play and get education, because then they're going on and we're producing doctors and pharmacists and lawyers and teachers and things like that. That is lost in the conversation. Don't want to lose that. Critically important that we don't lose that.
Speaking of competitive, you have a very competitive men's basketball coach. You have a very competitive football coach, of course. When it comes to your relationships with those high-profile sports, do you have to kind of pay an additional attention to them and just make sure that you are all on the same page?
Yeah, I think that's always when you've got people. There's much been made of. There's been much made of August and July and August and them having a dust up, whatever you want to call it. They're competitive guys. I want them to be competitive, and they're fine in what they do. I think that if we pay the right attention, everyone thinks, we're a football school, we're a basketball school, we're an everything school. We seriously want to be an everything school. I hope everyone feels like we're paying attention to everyone, and I think that with our success and what we've done across the board in terms of the Director's Cup and all the things that our coaches have accomplished, there's room for everybody at the table. So I think, we've resourced people well. We have a phrase we use a lot, and Rob Mullins, one of my former deputy associates, who's now the athletic director at the University of Oregon, he walked in our office early on at Kentucky and says, we got to match resources to expectations. That became the phrase, okay? So all of our coaches, we said, look, if we've got resources here and expectations here, How do we get those things where they're the same? Expectations can't be here and resources here. So we've got to make sure we marry those things up. And Rob did a great job of sort of defining that landscape for us. And that's where having really, really great people around me for a number of years that have helped me through some stuff. But that phrase has stuck. And it's gone on to other places. But our coaches have all been resourced to opportunity for they can all sit at the table and they can all have an opportunity to have their teams successfully find their way. And we're proud of that. Because they're competitive, they're competitive folks. Heck, if they weren't, I'd be disappointed. That's what you want. You want people that want to compete at a high level.
We talked about this award that you're getting here. We talked about all these years. Sometimes it can cause you to be quite reflective about the career. When you look at, though, going forward and these next couple of years, this has been a marked period of transition and change. Is that energizing to you?
Yeah, I tell you what. I don't know if energize is the right word. I want to leave. There's an old phrase, enter humbly, exit well. Enter humbly and exit well. And whenever that time comes, you do get reflective. I've got a lot of my peers that have stepped away. I hugged a guy last night at a reception, Craig Thompson, who I don't know of too many folks that have done what that guy has done for college athletics. And he needs to get unbelievable accolades, awards, whatever you can give Craig Thompson. I love him, and I just so happy for him, and he exited well. He did unbelievable things for college athletics, and set a table for us to go forward. I don't know if I'll have all the answers by the time I step away. I'm 63, pushing 64 years old, and been doing this a long time, and there'll be a time when it's time. But there's some things I want to do on campus. From a facility perspective, there's some things competitively I still want to try and figure out. Number 9 still hanging out there for the Cats, and I would love to see if we can get our football team to Atlanta, and there's some national championship things we can make a run at competitively in our program. That's good. But the other piece that you allude to is the landscape of college athletics. I think it is important that we steady the waters and maintain opportunity. What I don't want to see is we make choices in college athletics that say, okay, we made these choices, and because of the choices we made, we lost opportunity for young people. I've got 600 young people in my program. It's critically important to me to keep those 600 young people whole. Whatever that means, for them to have an opportunity to compete nationally, really, really important. So whatever we do to steady the waters, to be able to allow an environment of education and competition for those young people going forward is what's important to me. So that's how I will evaluate, I hope, my contributions as I look forward. But you do get reflective. You look back and you think, wow, there were some special people that I've had a chance to work with, to see young people come through my program, the locker rooms, victory celebrations, sometimes some tears, and some really difficult moments. So that does get reflective for you. And when I see people in this ballroom that you have an opportunity to spend time with, man, I think about the friendships that college athletics creates. It is uniquely different than anything else that you can do. Don't lose that. We get so hung up in the enterprise and in the business. The relationship piece is what's so important about what we do. For every vantage point, we have athletes, staff, coaches, university. It is relationships, it is those pieces that move us forward.
Well, I think that is a terrific note to end. Mitch, the Director of Athletics at Kentucky, thank you so much for joining us here on Athletic Director U.
Thanks, Bryan. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time. Appreciate being with you.